Okay. Um, so, so you guys are UBC Dental Hygiene, and you guys are graduating when? 5 weeks. Fantastic. So what that means over here is that you guys are at the very, very tail end. This is the best time, absolute best time to be catching this lesson over here. So for the next 2 hours-ish what we're going to do is we're just going to try to explore some of the questions that you guys either should be knowing or should be asking. I want to keep it very interactive. Like I said, my background is in education as well as in finance. Okay. So here's a question that I have for you guys over here. When you were coming into this session over here, you may have had some preconceived ideas about what this session might be about. I'd love to hear what you were hoping to get by the end of this. The answer, I might not be able to answer those questions, but I'd love to at least hear them. So think really quickly about what you're saying. Okay, by the time this guy finishes talking, what is one of the topics I hope he hits before the end? Yes?
Probably like the most realistic or like the best ways to be paying off student loans.
Sure, student loan debt. Okay, best ways. Perfect. Is there somebody else who says, oh, I really hope he touches on this other topic over here? Yes?
How we can save money or like how much to save at a young age or start early.
How to save money at a young age. So some strategies. Perfect. Yes?
Like what accounts you need to set up like right after graduation?
What accounts to set up? To set up after graduation. Okay, because what I want to do is if it's not in the presentation, I want to hit all these questions before the end. Yes?
I was listening to the presentation, but just like the answer to number 3, like I really like want to know what to do with the extra.
Sure. Okay, so why don't we slowly move towards that? We're going to talk about the first 3 over here. I'm at a little bit of a disadvantage because I don't have one with me over here. So we're going to look at it. We're going to do the first 3, and then during the session, we're going to look at 4 and 5. Okay. You're behind on your mortgage. You see no end in sight. You should. Any volunteers? It should be C. Put the house for sale because you see no end in sight. You see no end in sight. Hopefully, you guys will not be in that scenario. You lose your job, are desperately in need of money. You have 3 resources you could choose from: RSP, TFSA, or a home equity line of credit. Does anyone have any volunteers for this one? B. It should be your tax-free savings account, not your RRSPs, which is your retirement account, and of course, home equity line of credit. You're just pulling out more debt. Okay. 3. You are graduating a student, will be making good money soon. With extra funds, you should pay down loans, invest in the stock market, invest in real estate, get a financial plan. This one should be an obvious one. It's D. The reason is because every scenario is different. And the most dangerous, most expensive advice that you can ever get in your lifetime is free advice from family and friends. That's the most dangerous, most expensive advice you can ever get. That's like getting medical advice from family and friends, and none of them are physicians or in healthcare. But they're telling you what to do with your sore foot, your cough, your asthma, whatever. Okay? So that last one over there is a really good point over here. And it's because what may have worked for someone else in a completely different generation ago might not be the solution for you today in this environment. Okay? Just, what's that?
How about C?
What was C?
Invest
Invest in real estate?
Yeah.
I'm a huge investor in real estate. It might be the completely wrong thing to do if you're drowning in debt.
Like in Vancouver or other provinces. Like
It still might be the wrong thing to do, especially if you don't know how to invest in real estate. If you have no clue how to invest in real estate, don't invest in real estate. And I invest in real estate. As a matter of fact, most of my financial planning surrounds real estate. But if you have no clue what you're doing, don't invest in real estate. What I would say is learn how to invest in real estate if you want to do that. Is that okay? Okay. Uh, does anyone? Let's see if we got any math people in here with a bit of a finance background. Any idea on number 5 over here? What if it's 4? Oh, sorry. Survey of millionaires. U.S. was conducted. What brand of car was most driven by the average millionaire? What was yours answer? What was your answer? Toyota was the correct one. Toyota was the average millionaire. And I think that the reason why I like that question over here is because I think when most people think of a millionaire, they're actually thinking of a billionaire. They're thinking of yachts, they're thinking of cars, but when the average millionaire, they survey, it's a book called Millionaire Next Door. And this book over here took a look at how self-made millionaires got there. And it was no surprise if you were to read the book. The average person is, over 45 because it took them years to get there. They typically had just a standard job, but they invested early. They didn't overspend. They bought good, reliable houses in good neighborhoods, and they slowly built it up. They drove good, reliable used cars until that next stage of life. So basically, they just surveyed how these people did it from scratch. They didn't include people who inherited it, people who were all self-made. So what I want to do is try to debunk a few things over here. I've got my list. I've got my list of questions that I'm going to try to answer. If you sort of think of one as we go along over here, just answer it, sort of ask it, and then I'll try to get to it at the end, okay? Once again, to reiterate, this is the things that I felt that if I only had 2 hours to talk with any graduating group, what would I talk about? Loans and debts, getting financially organized, and your first year, what are some things that you should be doing? Okay, well, I'm going to keep it really, really, really simple. So my name is Christian Dye. I have a financial planning business downtown, except I also do a lot of guest speaking, and UBC often pulls me in because I came from this institution myself, but at the same time, I think there is a lot of knowledge, basic knowledge, that people aren't learning. You guys, believe it or not, Mimi and Sewell are actually ahead of the curve. They're actually forcing you guys to be in here to listen. It's every single faculty should be doing this. Unfortunately, they're not. Unfortunately, they're not. So usually when I'm talking, it's usually over lunch or it's an optional thing. This has to be integrated in. If we were to go one step further, there should probably be a 3-part series, and there are a couple institutes that have me, like BCIT and things like that, where they actually have me doing a series of workshops. Okay, but we're going to do a lot of learning over here. I hope you guys are excited because you're about to finish over here. Okay, you don't sound excited yet. You'll go through a depression in this when we start hitting the numbers, and then you'll get excited at the end. So that should be what happens. So I'm going to run a little activity with you guys, and it's going to this is sort of the teaching part of me, helping you guys to understand some of the challenges out there. Okay, so here's the first one. Just to yourself, I want you to quickly read this sentence. Now, this is the activity. I just want you to read this sentence again, but in your head, I just want you to count how many F's there are in the sentence, and don't share it with your partner. Just count it in your head and then hold it there. Okay, does everyone have a number? Don't share it with your partner, and this is all I'm going to do. When I say your number, I just want you to raise your hand and ignore what everyone else is doing. Is that okay? Just when I say your number. We ready? 1 F, 2 F's, 3 F's, 2 people for 3 F's, 4 F's, 2 people for 4 F's, 5 F's, 1 person for 5 F's, 6 F's, 6 people for 6 F's, 7 F's, about 9 people for 7 F's. Okay. Does everyone see what's just happened over here? I've just given one activity, yet the whole group who's about to graduate couldn't agree on all of them. And it wasn't even a complex activity. It wasn't even a complex activity, right? So here, how can I have a very, very educated group of people get the simplest activity, incorrect, uncollaborated. Okay. The reason why I start out with this is because it's to humble the audience. I like to do this to medicine and dentistry and just bring everybody down a notch. Okay. And the reason is because we have natural blind spots. We have natural blind spots. But we don't only have natural blind spots in what we see, we have natural blind spots in what we do. Okay? So right now I'm going to say if you got 7 Fs, congratulations, you got them all. If you didn't get 7 Fs, I'm just going to ask you to read it again to try to catch all 7. Go ahead. If you didn't get all 7 Fs, read it again. Now, let's see if there's any honest people out there. Who here still can't see all 7? What tends to happen is this. Even though I say that there's 7, some people still have difficulty seeing all 7. It's because the blind spot, it's too hard to get out. And a really good way to think about this, a lot of females in this group over here. Perhaps you have a friend who is with a partner or has dated someone, and everyone sees that they're the wrong person for them, except for them. And because you're their friend, you highlight all of the reasons why this is wrong, and they still don't see it. Who knows at least one person in this category? Fantastic, fantastic. Now, financially, we'll bring it back to finances. First of all, here are my 7 Fs. Here are my 7 Fs. Financially, I can go through this, I can highlight it, I can tell you all the things you're about to do wrong, and guess what's going to happen? You're still going to do it. Even though I told you that you shouldn't do it, you'll still do it. Because sometimes it's too ingrained in us. But what I want to do is I want to work the numbers. If I could bring some of the problems out to the forefront, it'll prevent you guys from actually making some of these issues over here. Okay, so does anybody know who this is? Who is it? That's right. Who's Warren Buffett? He's an investor. As a matter of fact, he's the greatest investor. He's the greatest investor because he's never created anything. He's not Bill Gates and he's not Steve Jobs. He's never invented anything. All he did is at an early age invested a little bit of money and then reinvested it and reinvested it. You know how many emails this guy has sent in his lifetime? 1. He's only ever sent 1 email, right? How does he read all of his financials? Just on paper. So his skill set is the ability to read a financial statement and to pick a good company to invest in. That's his whole skill set. Okay? So in other words, he is very, very, very financially knowledgeable. And so he's usually it depends on how the markets are doing, but he's basically one of the richest people on the planet. 65 billion, 70 billion, it all depends on which way the markets are going. Okay? So he once gave a speech, and I'm going to steal this from him. And he said, who would you bet on? Who would you bet on? And he said this, in the next 20 years from now, among your peers, who would you bet on to be the most successful? Don't say this out loud, by the way. Think of all your peers. You guys are graduating in 5 weeks. 20-year reunion comes by. You guys get back together. He said, if I was to put my money on someone, I'd put them on this person. And you define success whichever way you want. I'm going to define it with wealth, happiness, marriage, kids, vacations. That's the way I define success. Okay? So everybody's got someone that they would bet on? Good. Now I want you to think, what do you admire most about this person? And what are the attributes that they have that you wish you had? Right. So I want you to hold on to this, and then we're going to revisit at the end. Okay? Now we're going to get into a little bit of the work. This is question number 5. Is it 5? Question number 5. You accumulate $20,000 on your Visa card, credit card, to pay for expenses each month, and you pay $200 a month towards the debt. After 5 years, how much do you still owe? I haven't taught you guys how to solve this. I'm not sure if anyone knows how to solve this, but at least you tried. Can anybody give me a number that they came up with? What was your number? 10,000? 1,000. So basically, you have 1,000 left. Yeah. Perfect. 1,000. Yeah.
30,900.
30,000. So you went the other direction. Yeah.
I didn't do a calculation.
Sure. Just a guess.
It just depends on the interest rate too.
Sure. Sure. Do you have a number?
Of an interest rate?
No. A number of approximately how much you'll owe.
Nope.
Does anyone have it? Yeah.
8,000.
8,000. How'd you get 8,000?
Calculator.
Sure. What did you calculate?
I multiplied the 12 by 5
Yeah.
to get 60 months, and then
Yeah.
200 by 60 months.
And you got 12,000, and then you subtracted it. This, what was your name?
Rebecca.
Lives in a perfect world. Because that's how much it should be in a perfect world. Because what's a perfect world? I pay money and it clobbers the debt, correct? What's your name? And what is it that you said it depends on? The interest rate. What will be changing the number is the interest rate. So we have to understand this, because how many people right now have a Visa card or a credit card of some sort? Every hand I think should go up, and if it's not, it'll go up in the next 2 years for sure. We have to understand how this works because we all have one. Okay, so there's my 12,000. $200 times 5 years times 12 months is 12,000. If you take 20,000 minus 12,000, it should be 8,000 in a perfect world. But we've got this thing called the interest rate. Does anyone know what the interest rate is on a credit card? Yes.
Is it? I think the standard rate is 19.9.
Very, very close. I got 19.5. So yeah, 19.9, 20, 18.5, you're in that neighborhood. Would you guys say that is a high or a low rate? Incredibly high. Does anyone know what the stock market returns on average? Is it that high? No. No. So this over here is a very, very high number that we have to understand how it works against us, okay? So compounding is how money with interest grows. It can grow, or if it's debt, it's growing in the wrong direction. So sometimes things are compounded annually. Sometimes things are compounded monthly. What do you think is the worst way to compound something if it's debt? What's worse than monthly? Weekly? Daily. Is that even possible to do it daily? Yes. A Visa card is compounded daily. Okay? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys how to use the calculator in front of you, okay? So can you guys take out that calculator? Can you take out that calculator? We're going to be working with this calculator the whole time. And that's why you guys have got a worksheet over here. This is the math guy in me coming out, putting a tool in your phones that you could now use the rest of your life. Is that okay? Okay, so what I want you guys to do is press the calculator icon. Then in the top left corner, press, it says TVM calculator. I'm hoping everyone at the very least could sit beside someone who knows what they're doing, okay? TVM calculator, because eventually we'll be doing this with your own numbers. And if you're stuck, you could just ask me. Now I want you guys to top right, it says advanced. Be on the advanced screen. Okay, get to the advanced. Help your partner if your partner's stuck. Help your partner if your partner's stuck. Okay, is everyone with me? I'm going to show you guys what the correct answer is, because we heard 1,000, we heard 8,000, we heard different numbers. We heard 30,000. These are big numbers, right? I mean, big range. Let's figure out what the real number is, okay? We're going to put 20,000 as a positive in the PV. Money loaned always goes in as a positive, okay? Now, we're paying $200 per month, and that's going to go in as a negative because we're contributing to it. So whenever we invest money, it's negative. Use the negative sign, not the minus sign. Every calculator is a little bit different, but try to use the negative sign. And if it doesn't work, just switch it. Future value is what we're trying to figure out. How much is this money going to be worth? The rate is 19.5%, but that's the annual rate, so tick annual there. But we are paying for it for 5 years, but we're paying for it monthly, so we have to convert that to months. So 5 years is 60 months, and you got to click monthly. Okay? Have I lost anyone? Is there anyone who's got a question for me? Okay. Now we're ready to hit FV. Oh, sorry, compounding daily, compounding daily. Now hit FV. FV represents the future amount of money that you owe on the credit card after 5 years. Now remember, you paid $12,000 towards this 20 grand. And after 5 years of paying $200 a month, this is how much you should owe. 32 grand. Okay, 32,000. And notice that negative means you owe it. Okay? So right away, I like to show this because the calculator's not lying and you didn't press the wrong button. What's happening over here is this interest rate is killing you. Is killing you. Is it possible for a young person graduating just to start overspending on their credit card? Absolutely. It happens all the time. Absolutely, it happens all the time. Okay, so now let's try to understand this. What do you think the minimum payment is? I was told you guys to pay 200, but what do you think the minimum payment on a credit card is if it said 20 grand? And I had a Visa bill that was 20 grand. I did renos to my house. I had a $20,000 Visa bill, so I was able to look on it what the minimum payment was. Anyone want to take a guess? Yeah. It's $10 is correct. $10 is the minimum payment you need to make on that bill over here. I hope you don't have a $20,000 credit card. Okay. All right. By law, they have to tell you how long it will take you to pay it off. Okay? So I looked on my credit card bill. I looked on the sheet of paper at the front in like tiny 2 font, and it said how long it will take me to pay it off. How long do you think it would take me to pay it off? 152 years it would take me to pay this off. And it was just one bill. It's just one bill. Okay. And what we notice over here is that people tend to get in trouble. They get in trouble because they don't understand these numbers, and they always pay the minimum because the bill said to pay the minimum. Yep.
I'm just wondering about, like, if you're, like, that second part of that statement, would you, like, 152 years, would you actually ever pay it off? Because, like, when, like, number 5, after 5 years, like, you're so
Yeah, you see, that's a great question. We wouldn't be able to do it on our calculator because they use a slightly of a different formula over here. Would you, off of $10 mathematically, you do have to be able to pay it off, but the only thing is the numerical answer goes beyond their lifespan, which is why if I'll give you guys a perfect example. If you've got an income that is not increasing and you have, let's say, 3 credit cards all maxed out at around 20,000, by about in your mid-30s, it'll be impossible to pay the debt off in your lifetime. Is it possible for a person in their mid-30s to max out 3 credit cards? Yes. A shopping habit, you know? It's very, very easy to do that. Stroll at Yaletown on a Friday night, and then again on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. If you see the same person every single time and they don't work during the day, you know, maybe there's a problem over there, right? Okay, here's a question. If you pay $19,900 towards the debt, so that means you're short by $100. At the end of the month, do they charge you interest on the full 20,000 or just the $100? What do you guys think? The full 20,000. Even though I'm only short $100. Hey, what if I paid the full bill off, the full 20,000? Then how much interest do they charge me? Nothing. They charge you nothing. Yes?
If it's compounded per month, isn't it if it's compounded per day?
The compounding per day starts after the bill is due. So that means that even though you've accumulated 1 month of purchases, they have not charged you any interest. But when they say it's due on the 31st of January, if you don't pay it in full, they'll charge you for the full bill compounded annually going forward, minus whatever you paid off. Is that okay? And that number will continually be compounded daily. The interest will be compounded daily after that. Is that all right? Are we hitting the depression stage yet? Good, good. Sometimes it's gotta hurt before it heals. Good. Okay. What percentage of society pays their credit cards off in full? About 70%. Why is it $1 billion industry? On the other 30%. Okay? I need you guys to be part of the 70%, not part of the 30%. Okay? What's the key takeaway over here? What do we do with our credit cards at the end of every month? Pay it all off. What if we don't have the money? Go to another source. Student line of credit is what? 3%, 6%, 7%. You know, maybe I've got savings, you can't carry Visa credit card debt. You can't, and then you get people who will, it's like the F at the beginning, it's a blind spot. They're like, Christian, I'm making great ground. I'm contributing $300 a month to my RRSPs, $300 a month. How are your investments doing? They're making about 4 or 5%. What about your Visa credit card debt? Right now, I'm just doing the minimum right now because I want to concentrate on my investments. Does that make sense? No. You would have to have a guaranteed 19.5% rate of return on all of your money just to be level. Just to be level, right? Okay. Is 19.5, is the Visa card the worst credit rate out there? No. No. Who's worse, Christian? Is it the mafia? Is it the mob? Is it online gambling? Come on, who's worse? Oh, you've heard of these ones. The Bay, Canadian Tire, the Brick, any department store card is going to have a worse rate. Well, how bad can the rate be, Christian? 28.5, 29.9, you're getting up there. Yep.
For people who have those credit cards, though, if they're paying them with full and they're getting benefits, wouldn't that be positive?
It doesn't count against you, except for if you have too much credit, it can count against you. It can, okay? If you pay it off 100% in full, they don't charge you anything. Then it's the 70-30 rule. They just want the 30. They just want the 30, okay? Now, have you guys ever heard of the Brick, don't pay until 2019, that business over here? Here's something that we don't fully understand about it. If you don't pay it back, okay, let's pretend that you buy something 2018, January 1st. Let's say it's due January 1st, 2019, and they don't charge you one bit of interest, not one bit of interest. Let's say you buy a couch and a brand new big screen TV for 10 grand. That can easily add up to 10 grand. If you don't pay it back the day that it's due on January 1st, 2019, they charge you interest 28.5 compounded daily from the day you purchased it. So all of the interest is retroactive. So a $10,000 purchase, I've done the math, is about 13, you'll owe about 13 grand, a little over 13 grand on day one of when you're billed. What if I don't have the money, Christian, and it rolls over into the second year? You'll owe 17 and a half, year two. What if I still don't have the money in year three? You'll owe $23,000 in year three at 28.5% compounded daily. Okay. But Christian, I'm about to graduate and I need furniture and I'm still paying my student loans and I'm going to the Brick. Don't go to the Brick. Go to Starbucks, have a water, take out your phone to Craigslist, and there's this section out there called free stuff. Have you guys ever heard of free stuff? That's what I want you guys to do. Why? I'd rather have you pay off your loans. I'd rather have you guys invest your money. Okay? 28.5 working against you is too big. It's too much. It's too much. Okay? Always just have one credit card, pay it off in full. All right. Painful, right? And the people who are experiencing the pain are the people who are carrying a balance. If you're carrying a balance over your credit card, don't feel bad. Why? Because you're still young. You still have time. Yep.
Is there a negative to having more than one credit card if you're still like able to manage them and pay them off in full? Like you just use them for different things?
You probably, that's more of an accounting issue just because you want to keep them separate. I would say 2 max. 2 at the very most. Having multiple ones, from a credit perspective, it starts to count against you, especially if you carry balance on all of them. If you pay all of them off in full, I think it's okay. Really, I think everybody should have one credit card and one backup, and the backup should never be touched. You know, the backup is usually just in case you lose the first one, and it'll take you 5 days to get it again and all that other stuff. Okay. Okay, we okay with the credit card? We're 100% schooled on the credit card. Because of your guys' age, you guys have got another 50 years of a career never abusing a credit card. If we ended it right now and I walked out of here and you just walked away with that, I've already saved you tens of thousands of dollars just by avoiding that habit. Okay? If you're with a partner who's getting into bad credit card debt as well, have this conversation. Okay? It doesn't make sense when one person is rowing the boat and the other one is causing holes, right? You'll eventually sink together, except one of you will be working really hard as you sink. Okay, some transitions to avoid, pitfalls to avoid. Transitions to work, pitfalls to avoid. Okay? Everyone hates this question more than they hate the Visa card question. Okay? The other question that I asked you is that what about the $8 per day habit, lunch habit, Starbucks habit, muffin habit, whatever you want to call it? Okay. How much is this actually worth if I was only about 25 years old, it was about $8 a day, and at retirement, which is age 65 over here, approximately how much do we think this is worth? Is that okay? That's the question. Was there any guesses? Yeah?
Sorry, can you like rephrase the question? I'm not sure I really understand. Are you saying like from 25 till 65 if she bought a lunch every day, or?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Oops.
Oh, she
Sorry.
didn't buy lunch every day.
The concept I have over here is called the opportunity cost. This is something that's taught in business school. It's whenever we're about to make a purchase, we always figure out what's the opportunity cost we're losing if we were to do something different. So what we have over here is someone who's got a habit of just basically going out, and it doesn't have to be on lunch. It could be on cigarettes. It could be on Starbucks. It could be on something. But this person is spending $8 a day on something every single day. And I'm saying, what would it be worth in retirement if I was to take the same amount of money and on a monthly basis just invest it? Okay, that's the question. So it's an opportunity cost question. So here, it doesn't have to be on lunch, okay? So first we're going to talk about a rate of return. If I was to say, okay, Christian, what if I just took this money and on a monthly basis, I just invested it in the markets, okay? S&P market, the TSX market, some market, Canadian market. Well, first let's talk about, well, what's the rate of return? Does anybody know what a decent rate of return is if you were to invest it in the markets? Sewell, you got a number for me? How's your investment advisor doing?
Yeah, sure.
What's an average number?
Yeah, like 6 is, I would say, conservative.
You know what? That's the number I use, 6%. Now we know what a Visa card is 19, right? But I think a 6% is doable. I think if you've got someone who's investing your money, and if they're getting you a 6, I'd say if you are fairly investive, if you're fairly a fairly risk-averse person, 6 would be it. So we're going to see how much this thing is worth over here, okay? So this over here is a graph of what markets have done over time. And this is like the S&P, which is like the U.S. market, top 500 U.S. companies. So you can buy the whole market. We've got small cap, we've got large cap, we've got Canadian stocks. But what do you notice, and this is a 50-year graph, what do you notice about all of the markets over time? They always go up. That's where they started. And depending on which market you're following, this is where they ended. But all of them were higher than where they started, okay? Now, what's the rate of return? I don't know. It depends on what you invest in. But I'm just going to show you mathematically how much this habit is worth, because you should know what the opportunity cost is, okay? So we're going to take out our calculator again, okay? So here, let's go back to the advanced screen. For PV, let's put in a 0 because you're not starting with any money. PV is present value. We're not starting with any money. For PMT, I want you to think of $30, 30 days, I'm averaging, times by $8, which is $240. Is that okay? Should that number go in positive or negative? Invested money goes in negative. Invested money goes in negative. Okay? Borrowed money goes in positive. This is how you use a financial calculator. Okay, so we have negative 240 because that's what we're investing. I got that number because I went 8 times 30. It's just an estimate. The future value is what we're looking for. Now the rate we said is 6% annual. 6% is our annual rate. Now the periods over here, I'm using 480 because a person who's 25, I'm assuming that they're going to retire at 65, and I'm assuming they're going to contribute this every month. So that's where I get my 480 from. Is everybody okay? Okay. If I say anything that you don't fully understand, stop me. We've got the time, okay? All right. Compounding will be annual. Yes?
What do you mean exactly when you say rate of return?
Sure. The rate of return is this. If you gave me $100 and I invested it, and next year I give you back 110, got it? You made 10%.
So just any type of investment.
That's right.
The general.
That's right. But the way it's compounded is if you keep the money with me, then the 110 the next year, making 10% again, will have made $11. So now you have $121. And then it keeps moving forward and forward and forward. So rate of return is an annual rate that you are getting on an investment. And if it's 6% on $100, you made $6 that year. I'm using 6% on this, but I'm saying you're going to make 6% every year. And you're going to be contributing this $240 every month. Yes, every month. Is that all right? Okay. That's the number, 457. So the habit that you're taking on is worth about $500,000. It's about $500,000. Okay. And right now, would you say that the average person retiring in Canada has $500,000 of cash? The average person? No. No. Okay, so now keep these numbers on your calculator, and now I want you to think, hey, what if I get to be a little bit more of a proficient investor? What if I understand and take a bit more of an interest in learning about investments, and I do better than a 6%? What if I do an 8%? I want you to just change it to an 8, and then I want you to hit future value. Significant difference. Now, what if I got a 10%? Hit a 10 and now hit future value. Significant difference. Me personally, I invest in real estate. My annual average return is much higher than 10 because I have several properties. But the thing is, I'm not saying to invest in real estate. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not even saying to invest in the markets. I'm saying invest in understanding about finances because it's worth a lot of money. It's worth a lot of money. These numbers go up really, really quickly, okay? And now you've got a tool which shows you how quickly they go up. What is the key formula? Out of everything that I've just shown over here, what do you think is the most important number to create wealth in our society? Is it PB? You got to start with money, Christian. Is it PMT? You got to contribute money. Is it the rate? We got to have a kick butt rate. It's the period. It's the amount of time we have. Out of all of these, he says, if you could focus on one aspect of how to create wealth, what is the most important variable? The starting amount, the rate you get, the contribution, or the amount of time you have? What is the number one wealth creating variable? Can anybody tell me? Yeah.
I want to say it's rate.
So that means you need to have a killer rate in order to make a lot of money. No. Yes.
Like contribution.
The amount of contributions you do. No. They're definitely variables. Yeah.
It has to be time.
It's got to be time. It's got to be time. And I don't have a felt. If I showed it to you, it's like this. Everyone's familiar with graphs? This is how money grows over time. This is linear, and this is exponential. Money grows exponentially because the t variable is in the exponent. I can't remember if I have a slide on that, but we'll see. So right now, you guys are incredibly, incredibly wealthy because of one aspect. What's that one aspect? You got a lot of time. You guys still have a lot of time. But when you guys start getting older, you're burning too much time. You're burning the one resource you can't get back, okay? Because you can't get the time back. You're counting backwards to 65 right now. Okay, so here are the mistakes. So number one, spending. I talked about Visa card. I talked about our daily habit of eating lunch or anything that you're spending 240 bucks on, whatever. Okay. So there's this great quote out there. It says, if you divide up all of the money in our society equally over time, it would eventually end up in the same pockets. Okay, and I truly believe this. And it's because of this concept over here of the temperature gauge. So the temperature gauge is like this. Right now the temperature gauge is set to something. Let's just pretend it's set to 72. Okay? Temperature is set to 72. So what happens if it's a really cold day out? The heaters will kick in, Christian. You'll try to get us back to 72. Does that make sense? What if it's a really hot day, it's July, it's scorching hot day, what's going to kick in? Air conditioner. Why? Trying to get us back to 72. Money is the same thing. We all have a temperature gauge on money. So think of rich versus poor thinking like a thermostat. Here is a perfect example, lottery winners. Statistically, you have over half of all lottery winners who win millions of dollars, and within 5-6 years, they've not only lost all of their money, but they're actually even further in debt. Okay? How on earth can someone be given millions of dollars and in a few years lose it all? Perfect. They were a poor thinker. Their temperature gauge was set to poor all the time. But suddenly, it just got too much money. So slowly over time, they just got rid of it, doing very, very silly things with their money. Okay? You get the same thing on the reverse. Rich thinkers who became broke, and over time, they got all their money back. Some good examples over here are immigrants. You get immigrants coming from different countries, they lost everything. Communism, they had to flee their country, something. They fly into Vancouver, 10 years later, these guys have got 3 houses, 2 businesses. How did that happen? They came with nothing. They came with a suitcase and not a penny to their name. They were rich thinkers. It's just they lost all their money. But then they just got it all back. Okay. So what I do with my clients is I reset their temperature gauge for rich. I get them to think like a rich person. Okay, you have no money, you're drowning in debts. Is it time to buy a brand new car? No. All right. See, but often they do. Is it time to be, spending 30% of our income on restaurants and shopping? No. But sometimes they do. And what happens to these people as they start making more money? If they don't solve this problem of rich thinking, it just goes out the door. And remember, a lot of my clients are in healthcare. And if I go to the top tiers, you got your physicians, you got your dentists, you got your lawyers. Okay, so all of those guys must be swimming in money, Christian. They must be all rich in big houses and fancy cars. No. Some of them are drowning in debts. Oh yeah, but when they're young, not when they're in their 40s and 50s. Yes, in their 40s and 50s, drowning in debts. Why? Temperature gauge was set to poor their whole lives. And the more money they made, the more money they were spending, and the problem is it was going out faster than it was coming in. Spending without first investing is the mistake that I want you guys see, because this is usually the pecking order. Christian, when I start making money, and in a couple months you guys are going to start making money. I start making money, I want a nice clothes, I want a nice car, I want nice vacations, I want nice everything, and whatever's left over, I'll pay debts off. And whatever's left over after that, I'll invest, right? What happens in that pecking order? Usually there's nothing left over to do either, except for maybe the minimum. I like to do the reversed. I invest first, and whatever's left over I live off of. At least I control how much I invest. I control how much my loans are. Okay, I want to go for the big ticket items over here. The biggest ticket item you guys will probably purchase in the next couple of years will probably be a car. Okay? Either your car is about to break down, you don't have a car and you're going to need a car. If you guys can go without a car, you're going to save tons of money. If you want to pay your debts down fast, don't have a car if you don't already have a car. And if you do have a car, hold on to that car as long as possible. Don't try to upgrade or sell that car yet. Little multiple choice for you. If you've got a car and it's fully paid off, what is the greatest monthly cost for your fully paid off vehicle? Gas, insurance, maintenance, tickets, or something other? Take 30 seconds, talk to your partner, and then let's see what you guys think. Okay? Go ahead. All right. Okay, we got some conversations. It's fantastic. Keeping you guys on task over here. Okay, any volunteers? Anybody for gas? How much you pay for gas? Yeah, per month or per week. $100 per week?
No, per month.
$100 per month? Holy cow! That is very, very, very low. If you pay $100 per month, very low. Who here drives something that takes up a lot of gas? All right, so what's this beast? First of all, what do you drive?
Mazda 3.
A Mazda 3, which isn't bad. How much you spend in gas?
Probably close to 200, but only because I bring my daughter to school every day.
200 a month? Oh man, you're low down the chain. Yeah. What do you got?
I want to say like 350.
What do you drive?
Mazda 6.
Mazda 6 350. What do you drive?
Ben.
Benz. How much per month?
500.
500. That's the number. I want the big numbers. 500, 400. Okay. What are the vehicles that are going to chew up the most amount of gas over here? Definitely anything sporty, anything luxury. What else? Trucks. Trucks are going to, anything that says 4x4 on it, that is expensive. V6, V8. Okay, why am I telling this to a group of women? As soon as you guys get pregnant and have your first child, how many people are in a lineup to get a minivan? That's a quick answer. None. What is it that all the women want to? I'm from the North Shore, all right? This is what the women on the North Shore do. What do you think women on the North Shore drive when they have kids? 4x4. Range Rover, SUV, Cadillac, right? That's what the women drive. I'm telling you, that's the soccer mom. They're rolling up in a heavy duty SUV. Why am I giving this right now over here? It'll probably be the most expensive thing that you purchase. So we should understand the answer to this question. It's not gas. Gas is up there, but it's not gas. Anybody for insurance? All right. What do you pay for insurance? Approximately. Do you know?
Oh, I don't have a car.
Sure. What?
I don't either.
Who here knows how much insurance? What's your insurance?
375.
Per month. That's actually pretty high.
Really high.
What's yours?
1,800.
Per year. 1,800 per year, I'd say, is someone with Roadstar.
That's right.
Roadstar for sure, which means you've got a certain number of years behind you of no accidents. What will drive insurance costs up? If you get in an accident, it's going to go up high because no Roadstar. Luxury vehicle and young vehicle. 2018, 2017, 2016, that will drive insurance costs up. Usually the number, I'd say insurance is like 150 to 200. If you're driving a little bit newer and you're a little bit younger, you don't have the years behind you, maybe 250, maybe 300. It's expensive. And that's right off the bat as soon as you roll off the lot. So it's like, wow, what if I just get a car next year as opposed to this year? You're saving hundreds per month, hundreds, right? It's not insurance either. What about maintenance? If you put your hand up for maintenance, you need a different car. If you're like, Christian, 800 a month, easy. I'm like, we have a separate issue. A separate issue. It shouldn't be maintenance. Tickets and park. If it's tickets and parking, again, we've got a different issue that you need to deal with the motor vehicle branch. Okay. This is the correct answer. It's other. For the average vehicle, it's other. Can anybody take a guess what the other is? It starts with a D. It's the depreciation of the vehicle. It's a hidden cost. Every vehicle depreciates. And if it's not depreciating, you're probably not driving it. It's probably behind a glass, right? So the depreciation of a vehicle, it's a very, very simple formula over here, okay? I'm going to pick on a BMW really quickly, okay? BMW, brand new BMW, costs about 60 grand, okay? What do you think the 5-year-old version of this same vehicle costs? You bought it new for 60, but in 5 years, if I want to pick up the same car, what do you think I could pick it up for? 40? No. In the 20s. It'd be about 26. Okay. What's happened is that the value of the car has depreciated. So the math is pretty simple. What if I just went 60,000 minus 26,000, which is 34,000? And if I just divided that by 12 and divided that by 5, 12 months, 5 years, you're almost $600 on this vehicle. Every car will depreciate. This is the hidden cost because at some point you have to sell the car. And when you sell the car, you said, well, what did I buy it for and what did I sell it for? Don't worry about maintenance and all that other stuff. You would have to do that with another car. Newer cars, you have less maintenance, so there's some more variables over here. But at the end of the day, depreciation is the largest actual issue with the car over here, okay? So here, if you're buying new, it will depreciate the most. If you're buying new, fancy, expensive, that will depreciate the most, okay? So I have a good friend who bought a $90,000 BMW, but he bought it used, and when he ended up buying, it cost him about $19,000, and I think it was 6 years old. Massive amount of depreciation, but sometimes with luxury vehicle comes with other issues. High maintenance cost. So when he bought it, he bought a $90,000 vehicle, but he bought it for 19. Okay, but he needed to put $8,000 of work into it, which he did himself. That was just parts, and he did that over the next 3 years. Okay, he couldn't maintain the car anymore. There was just too many problems happening with it, and then he eventually sold it for 6. Okay, so there's a huge amount of depreciation that was going over here. What vehicle do you think has the smallest amount of depreciation? Smallest. It doesn't mean that they're cheap. They're cheaper, but if they depreciate slowly, it means they're very, very reliable. What do you think has the smallest amount of depreciation? It's probably in the top 10, but it's not the top 1. Honda Civic. Your Honda Civic. Toyota Camry was probably a close second, and then it's probably another Honda, and then it's another Toyota, and then it's another Honda. Okay? There's nothing sexy about these cars, by the way, but they're just incredibly reliable. Mazda 3's got to be up there as well, you know. Except if somebody has no clue about cars and they're not into cars, but they want a good, reliable car that doesn't depreciate too much, I would say stick to this unsexy stuff. At this stage of life. Am I saying don't ever have the nice car? Don't ever have a fancy car? I'd say yes, but maybe not at this stage. Not until the loans are gone, not until the assets are built up, not until the home is bought. That's my priority for my clients. I want the assets. I want the loans gone. I want them to have all these things before they hit that next stage. So I want everyone to have these nice cars, but just not at the first stage of life. Okay? So it's about $150 per month. Okay, and you know, with cars, there is one sweet spot that I do have because I've done the analysis at times, and I drive a nice car. I drive a Mercedes, right? But there is a sweet spot, and the sweet spot is usually this. Write this down if you're about to buy a car. Here's the sweet spot. Are we ready? The car should be between 3, no younger than 3, and no older than 8 years old. Between 3 and 8. Okay. And it should have, can anybody tell me how many kilometers per hour, how many kilometers is put on a car per year?
20.
About 20 is correct. It should have an average of 10 per year. 3 to 8 with an average of 10. if you could find that sweet spot, plus it's a good, reliable car, you're getting half of the kilometers with the depreciation squeezed out of it. That car will last you the longest. But the majority of the price has been knocked out of it. So when a car sits in your garage and you never drive it, the value goes down, but the quality doesn't. Okay? So if you've got a car that's 3 years old and it's got 100,000 kilometers on it, is that good or bad? Bad. If you've got a 3-year-old car and it's got 60,000 kilometers on it, normal, that's average. You've got a 3-year-old car that has 30,000 kilometers on it, good. Use my rule of thumb. Use why 3? Why not 2? Why not 1? The majority of the depreciation has been squeezed out of it. The most is 5. Like 5 is like perfect. 5-year-old car. 8 is pushing it a little bit, but if you could stay on the 10,000 kilometer rule, then you're only at 80,000 kilometers. And most cars can usually go 150, 200 before they start really, really having issues over here. Okay? So if I left right now and didn't teach you one more thing, if you just did the Visa card thing and didn't go into debt, and if you bought a used car between 3 and 8 years old for the rest of your life, I've just saved you tens of thousands of dollars for sure. Okay, mistake number 2, deductions. How much money is taken from gross to net if you are a unionized nurse or teacher? So both my sisters are nurses, and when they got their very first paycheck, they noticed, hey, I make this amount, but I only came home with this amount. What percentage do you think was taken off of their paycheck? Any idea? It's a big chunk. About 36% was taken off of their first paycheck. What was taken off here? They took off the taxes. They took off money for pension. They took off money for their insurance, like disability insurance. They took off extended health benefits. Okay? So, of course, they were upset by this because they're young. They're 24 years old. And they're saying, holy cow, what a ripoff. They took off so much money. But tax season comes every April. The taxes has already been removed for them. So they don't have to pay their taxes. It's already been taken off. Come retirement, they have a pension. And a pension means that they're going to get money every single month until the day they die. So they don't have to save up as much for retirement. If they were to be injured, they're paid a monthly amount until they get better or until age 65. And if they needed eyeglasses, chiropractor, if they needed, any of these dentistry, they have their benefits paid for them, and their kids' benefits and their spouse's benefits. Okay, so this is stuff that's taken off for them. But is your job covering you for these things? And I work with a lot of dentists too. A lot of them have practices, no benefits. Okay, lots of them have practices, no benefits. Some practices have some benefits, and some practices have lots of benefits. But on the day you sign your paper, are you even going to know to ask? Are you even going to compare it? Is it even going to mean something to you? It should. Because at the end of the day, if some place is not covering for you these things for you, that means you got to do it yourself. It says there's 3 different dental offices that I'm looking at. None of them have benefits. Okay. You have to do your pension. You have to save for your taxes because they're going to pay you in gross. They're not going to pay you in net. You have to save up. You have to put in place your own insurance, and you have to look at extended health options. A lot of clinics that I see have a little bit of extended health options and nothing else. So that when you say, hey, do you have benefits? They can answer yes. And they get it from guys like me. Christian, you're my advisor. What is the cheapest possible plan that I could put in place for my employees? Small extended benefit passive. Great, get it for me. Why? So that when they ask if there's benefits with this job, I at least can say yes. Okay? But you don't know. These things they range really, really big. Because you guys are young, it's not on your radar. Pension, it's not on your radar. Disabled, you're healthy as a horse, you're young. Income taxes, that's like two tax cycles from now, next April, right? It's not on your radar. But you gotta think of this stuff. At the beginning, you gotta think about this stuff. Okay? So here's a good case over here. I'm using a financial calculator over here on a pension. So in this calculator, I'm entering in a male, married, makes 50 grand a year, age 35. He's got $20,000 in savings. And he says, Christian, I want to try to retire. I don't want to be too aggressive in the market, so we put him at 6%. How much do I need to retire to contribute? and we said you're going to have to contribute another 200 bucks, $191. To meet your retirement needs, you got to contribute about another $200 to meet your retirement needs. Says, no problem, Christian. Here's $200, invest it, and try to get me my 6%. I'm going to take the same guy over here. I'm just going to remove the pension because work gave him a pension. Now work doesn't give him a pension. Same guy, $630 per month. Why? No pension. How many dental hygienists do I know that have a pension through work? Oh, that's easy. None. None of them. How many physicians do I know have a pension through work? None. How many chiropractors? None. How many, all these people in healthcare have no pensions. Okay? That means you need to self-fund this yourself. Going back to the Starbucks question, that means you need to start early. You need to start a contribution. This would be a good opportunity to address one of the questions. How much should I start saving at a young age, and how might I do that? If you're saving for retirement, does anyone know the name of the vehicle that I've already mentioned that's on the sheet of paper? Yes? RRSP. An RRSP would be the place. Now, the reason why we would contribute to an RRSP is because in retirement, it's tax deferred. It means that when the money is growing, you're not taxed on the money. You'll get taxed in retirement. But in retirement, your tax rate will be super, super, super small. Okay, so it's efficient. The other advantage of an RRSP is that you get a tax credit. So if you guys are making a lot of money and you get this tax credit, it says your tax bill is $16,000 this year, but you contributed $6,000 to your RRSPs. Instead of 16 grand, your tax bill is only 14 grand, which means you have an extra $2,000. Okay, so an RRSP is the type of place you would save up for retirement. Okay, usually I say start one. I'm not saying over contribute to it. Maybe it makes more sense to pay down your loans, but at least start one and get into that habit. It's kind of like saying, you know what, start going to the gym. I don't have a lot of time. Do 30 minutes once a week. Why? Because it's a starting point. Yep.
Would it be beneficial to be adding money to an RRSP right now if you don't have a lot of contribution room? Like, would it make more sense to just wait a couple years from now?
I'll get to that at the end. Okay. Mistake number 2, which is deductions, the summary. If you're paid in gross, but in the put in necessary deductions personally, okay? So here's one thing that I think everybody should do. Set up a direct deposit with the bank to start planning for your taxes, okay? The tax man is going to ask, if you're paid in gross, which means no deductions, you're eventually going to have to pay a tax bill. Well, how much should I set aside, Christian? I'd say go 20-25%. Now, that's probably too much money in the first couple of years, but that's a good thing. It's a good thing to have money left over. It's a bad thing to have too little money. It'll get you a head start. Now, if you guys have got tax credits through school and tuition, your very first tax bill might be very, very, very low. Don't be fooled. The tax credits run out. You then will be part of the rest of society, okay? So there's the general rule of thumb. I got to save up for my taxes. This guy, Christian, came in. He scared the living hell out of me. I'm all depressed now, and I want to start doing things right. You go to the bank, said, when I get my first paycheck in June, I want you to take, and you calculate what 20% is, I want you to take $400 and take it out and put it into this other account. What's an account you could put it in? TFSA account. Why? TFSA, tax-free savings account. Money can go in and out. You're not taxed on it, right? But just get it out of my checkbook and put it somewhere else. And then when I get a tax bill, I'm going to look at that account, and I got a $16,000 tax bill, and I got 20 grand in there. There you go, CRA. And I still got 4 grand left over, rolling over. My life didn't change at all. What do some of my other clients who don't take my advice do? They spend all their money. Come April, it says I owe 30 grand in taxes. Look at the bank account. I don't have 30 grand. So guess where they run to? Line of credit or Visa. They don't have any money. Where else are they supposed to run to? Right? So then they play this roller coaster. I have money, I have no money. I'm in debt, I'm not in debt. Just take the money out. Automatic RSP contributions. This is what I like. If you could shave off 10%, That's a nice starting point. You know? People always say save 10% of your money. You can always change the number, right? If you start living like this, 10%, that's a good number. The insurances, extended health, disability insurance, how much money should I save up for that? I'd say about 5%, 5% of your income, okay? And then you got to meet with a financial guy like me to figure out, well, what's the insurances I need? Which is the best company to go with? I could help anyone who needs help in that area. Okay, so what's the mistake? Not understanding the benefit booklets and not putting personal deductions in place. So if someone says, yeah, we have benefits, say, can I have a copy of the booklet? You know, can I read it? As opposed to, yeah, I got benefits. I have no clue what I got, but I got them. Right? You have no idea. You got a basic extended benefits plan that covers you for pretty much nothing. You know, gives you a $300 limit on chiropractors each year. That's it. You know. So make sure you actually read those benefit booklets when you get them and see what do I have and what don't I have. And guess what? Whatever you don't have, you got to put in place yourself. So I want you to imagine that you have two job offers. Okay. Job offer A, $75,000 a year. But for the rest of your life, if something ever happens to you, you and your family get nothing. If you were to be disabled, you get nothing. If you were to be critically ill, you also get nothing. Job B pays $73,000 per year, but if anything happens to you, your spouse and your kids get $1 million. If you get disabled, you get $4,000 per month for the rest of your life. You get critically ill, you get $100,000. Which job would you rather take, A or B? The responsible person would take B. If you got a partner and your partner had the decision, you would also want your partner to take B because you're the one on the hook, right? A and B are the same job. They're both self-employed. But the person in job B put in $2,000 per year to get life insurance, disability insurance, and critical illness insurance themselves. Same job, right? So here, I pulled an actuarial table out. Female, age 28. This is the depressing part again. You ready? That's the chance of you dying before age 65. That's the chance of you being disabled before age 65. With a disability lasting at least 3 months. Average disability lasting 8 months. That's the chance of you getting critically ill before 65. What do you think is the number one critical illness? Cancer. That didn't mean you died from the cancer. If you died from the cancer, you're in that category. It just means that you got it. Cumulatively, what's the probability of you cashing in one of these policies before the age 65? A little over 50%. So whenever I work with a client, I always say, what does work cover you for? Covers you for disability? Great, because that's the more expensive one. We got to make up the other ones. The average two-car household pays about $300 a month in car insurance, right? Everybody gets car insurance because they understand it. A lot of people don't understand if work doesn't cover you for your personal insurances, you need to put this in place yourself. Okay? So I just pulled again, female age 28, basic plan. They're not that expensive. A life plan, a critical illness plan, disability plan. Disability plans are always the most expensive. Okay? But the one thing is, there's student programs, but it's only good while you're a student. You should investigate them. I'm the one who's familiar with a lot of these student programs. If you're right on the cusp of finishing, you should look into these. Yep?
Are those costs based on terms?
Yes, these are term. They're basic plan. See, basic plan, a term plan is basically, it's a temporary plan. But you only have to do the medicals once. You could convert them later. So I always said, well, I got loans, I got all this other stuff. Yeah, get a cheap term plan. Get the medicals over with. And the reason why I say get the medicals over with is because when it comes to insurance, there are 3 things moving in the wrong direction. Okay? So the 3 things moving in the wrong direction are the rates, your age, and your health. So we had a guy in my neck of the woods on the North Shore, young man, wife, 3 kids, and he was unfortunately suffering from a terminal cancer, and then he eventually passed away from it. And they had it in the newspaper, and they were saying, please contribute money, please help this poor guy out. People were contributing money, everyone was giving money. After a 2-week campaign, you know how much they raised for him? $18,000. How far is $18,000 going to go to a wife and 2 kids? Maybe 6 months, maybe, right? Just get the insurance for you and your partner, and make sure you guys are well insured, especially before you start having family. Now's the time to always apply because you're healthy. Just get a cheap term plan. Mistake number 4, delayed debt repayments over here. Okay, now we get to the good stuff. Okay. Okay, what I want to do is I want you guys to take out the calculators again because someone asked about loans. This is the perfect slide here. Okay. I want you to imagine you have $60,000 in loans, and I want you to imagine your interest rate is 6%. I have no idea what it actually is. So I want you to enter 60,000 as positive because you guys are borrowing the money. You're going to pay $300 a month, which is the minimum amount that they will ask from you. 300, negative 300. Future value is 0 because we're trying to clobber this thing. We're paying it down to nothing. Make sure you're in the advanced. The rate is 6% annual. The periods will come out monthly. We don't know what the answer is, and we're compounding annually. Is that okay? Now what I want you to do is this. To figure out how long it's going to take to pay off these loans at $300 a month, I want you to hit periods. Hit periods. That's how many months it'll take you to pay it off. I'll convert it for you. That's 62 years. Am I lying? Is the calculator lying? Did I trick you like I did at the beginning? No. Now comes the good news. This Christian guy seems to be making sense. I'm about to convince you to add another $200. Don't go to Yaletown for your dinners. Go to Red Robin's and split a basket of endless fries. Got it? Contribute an extra 200. So that makes 500. I want you to change that number to negative 500, and then I want you to hit periods. You got it? 181 months is 15 years for an extra $200. I went from 62 years down to 15 years just by adding an extra $200. Yes, that's how math works. That's how the math works. Okay, Christian, you got me hooked. You got me hooked. Okay, now, no more fancy car, no more fancy dinners. $1,000 a month. Put it at a negative 1,000. No more fancy cars, no more fancy dinners. All right. Now where are we? 6 years. 6 years. All right. One last one. I'm moving in with my parents for the first little bit. Okay? They're flipping the bill for food, and entertainment is Netflix. All right. $2,000 a month. 2.7 years. Loans finished in 3 years. What's 3 years? 3 years, nothing. Nothing. And then someone says, how do I save money, Christian? How can I start, investing in my future and get my money working for me? This is the formula. You do this for 3 years, then keep doing it for another 3. Why? Because now the $2,000 is going towards investments. It's going towards my favorite, real estate. It's going to the markets. It's now we're making ground over here, right? Is it a sacrifice? Absolutely. It's hard. It's hard. It's the same as that immigrant flying into this country. He knows how to build back his wealth. He knows what to do. He knows what it takes, right? So, your turn. Go to your worksheet. Go to your worksheet. This is the fun part. I don't know what your loans are, but you know what they are, right? Fill in the blanks. What are your loans? What are your loans? Put your loan in there. Put your loan in there. I don't know what your loan rate is either. If you guys have a student line of credit, I think it's probably prime, like 3.2. If you have a government student loan, it's probably 6. I don't know what your loans are. So if you have no clue, use a 3.2 if you've got a line of credit. Use a 6 if you've got a government loan. Okay, now this is what I want to do, okay? I want you to reverse the math and say, Christian, how much money do I have to take off of my paycheck to pay back my loans if I want to kill them in 10 years? 10 years, 120 months, this is what I want you guys to do. Go, whatever your loan is, type that in as a positive number in the PV. Payment, leave blank. FV, put a 0. Rate, whatever your rate is. For some of you, it's prime at 3.2. For some of you, it's 6. Government loan, I don't know. But if you're writing all of this down on a piece of paper, you could do this when you get home. Go talk to your bank or pull up your file. Periods is 120 months. This is how much you would contribute if you want to pay your loans off in 10 years. All right, compounding annual. Everyone hit PMT. Hit PMT. That's how much you need to contribute per month to pay your loans off in 10 years. My number is 475. Based off of 50 grand at 2.7, I got to pay 475 a month. My loans will be gone in 10 years. Has everybody got it? Okay, Christian, we don't want to pay it off in 10. We want to pay it off in less than 10. Let's do 60 months. That's 5 years. 5 years. If I kill my loans in 5 years, change the periods to 60, then I want you guys to hit PMT. Then hit PMT. That's how much you need to put away per month if you want to kill your loans in 5 years. My number, 891. All right, Christian, I want 3 years. Put that at 36. 36 months. If I want to kill my loans in 36 months, how much do I have to do? This is going to be my last one. It's aggressive. It's painful. Maybe your parents are still letting you live at home, right? Maybe this is doable for you. For others of you, it's not doable, but maybe for you, it's doable. Let's look. Almost $1,500 a month. That's painful. That's got to be, half my salary, a third of my salary. I don't know how much of your salary that is, but that's what it's going to take for you to pay your loans off in 3 years if you want to pay your loans off in 3 years. What I've just done is I've mathed you. I Jedi mind tricked you to love math. See? Everyone's doing math. They're so excited now. Depressed, excited, potato, right? Is everybody good on the loan calculator now? Good. You guys got all your real numbers. Okay. Mistake number 5, and you could do this at home when you get your hands on some real numbers over here, okay? Mistake number 5 is this. What is your greatest determinant of wealth for your first year of practice? Hint, it's not income. This is a mistake a lot of my clients make when they're graduating. Law school, dentistry, medicine. I got to make a lot of money because that's the key to wealth. I got to make a lot of money. I need a higher income. That's not the key to wealth. That is not the key to wealth. This is the key to wealth, your income ratio. The ratio is the key to wealth, not the income. Okay? What is an income ratio, Christian? It's your expenses divided by your income, and you're going to get a percentage. I could get a client right now, and they said, hey, this is how much money I make. I said, I don't care how much you make. What's the ratio? Let's calculate it. And if they said, oh, my ratio is 99%. I said, well, how much do you make? 400 grand a year. 99%. No problem. You're going to die poor. Right? What do you mean I'm going to die poor? I have 400 grand a year. Yeah, but your ratio is 99%. You got 1%. That's it. See, well, what's included in expenses? Rent, mortgage, taxes, groceries, vacations, cars. What's not included? Savings, loan payback, investing, charity. That's not included in the top number. So the smaller the ratio, the better. So if you have a 60% income ratio, that means you got 40% of your money to pay back loans or to invest. And when all the loans are killed, stay at the same ratio and start investing. The ratio says so much of a person's character. So much of a person's character. People who are at high income ratio, it tells you something about them. Okay? Again, it goes back to that idea of a temperature gauge over here. Okay? When I talk in front of a group of people about money, I often ask this multiple choice question. What is your greatest financial goal? A, to be rich, or B, to be perceived as being rich. If it's to be rich, you'll have low income ratio. If it's to be perceived as being rich, you'll have high income ratio. Why? Because you'll spend all your money on fancy clothes, on fancy cars, on cruising down Yaletown and eating in expensive restaurants all the time. Doesn't mean you're rich. It means you're just being perceived as being rich. If I calculate your income ratio, you might be at 110. You might be at 99. You might be at 101, right? I believe everyone should have wealth, but it comes at different stages of life. In the early stages, that's growth building. If you have low income ratio. Question that people often ask me, what's a good income ratio, Christian? The answer, it depends. If you said, yeah, Christian, I'm married, I've got kids, my household income between my spouse and I is 80% income ratio. That's very good. That's very, very good. He says, hey, Christian, I'm at 80%. I live free at home in my parents' basement. Well, that's terrible. That's absolutely terrible. Your income ratio should be 30%, right? So the ratio, it depends on the stage of life you're at. If you've got mortgage, kids, 80 is awesome. 90 is like bare minimum, though. If you're living at home, 50 and below. 50 and below. 50% of all your income should be going towards loans or investing if you're still living at home. 50%. How do we figure out our income ratio? I use an Excel sheet. If you guys want a copy of my Excel sheet, I'll give you an opportunity to email me at the end. My Excel sheet's simple. I enter in household income. I enter in expenses. I change it if it changes during the months. It categorizes what percentage I'm spending in what category. I put in my tax rate, and then I get a cash flow at the bottom. The cash flow lets me know if I'm under or over for the year, especially if me and my partner don't have a consistent income. And then this cash flow tells me, can we afford certain things? Can we afford a new car? Can we afford to go on vacation? If the cash flow is at the zero or negative, even though our cash flow here in the early months is high, it'll let me know that I can't afford it. Plus, it'll figure out my income ratio for me, okay? If you want this, email me at the end. At the end, give me your email and say, Christian, can you give me this thing? And I'll give it to you. Fill it out. Stay on track. If your household, you got you and a partner, you fill it in together and figure out what your household income is. Okay? It also figures out your assets and liabilities. On the next tab, you list out all your assets, you list out all your liabilities. It might be depressing. So I'm using one over here of a dental client. Dental client, these guys got huge student loans, huge, crazy student loans, 300 grand student loans, right? So it's okay if it's negative. It is what it is. But it's not okay if it stays there. So we track it. See, if you treat your household like a business, you do quarterly reports of where you are financially. At the very minimum, you should do annual. But if you're really A-type personality, you do it quarterly. All I want to know is, are the numbers moving in the right direction? Yes, I get it. They're negative 390 on the day I graduated. But 4 months later, you see, I keep making such good progress over here. So your assets minus your liabilities. And then you write down the goals. This is the type of thing I do with my financial planning clients. We write down the goals. What are you trying to do? Pay back loans? I'm trying to get a down payment on a house. I'm trying to retire. So we take a look at their situation. So talk about investing a little bit over here. What is the cost of a starter home? A lot of people here from Vancouver locally over here. What do you guys say is the cost of a starter home? The first thing that you're going to buy for you guys is probably not going to be a house. What's the first thing you guys are probably going to buy? Condo. That's right. Probably a condo. And here's a big question people often ask me. Christian, should I just wait, save up as much money as I can, then buy? Or should I buy as fast as possible? What do you think my answer is going to be? Fast as possible. I'm a real estate guy, right? I'm a real estate guy. I don't believe that we should wait to buy real estate. I think we should buy real estate and wait. Okay? It always goes up. But you got to be able to afford it, though. There's another issue over there. Affordability is the next problem, okay? So I'm a real estate guy, and what I tell most of my grads, and you can get a bunch of guys and they'll argue me on this, and I'm okay with that. I'll tell most of my grads, everyone should put as much money as they can towards your first home as fast as possible. Okay? That's usually what I'll say. Why? Because historically, I've always been right. Historically, my grads who have done this, who graduated in 2010, 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014, 2015, 2016, they come back and says, Christian, I had 80 grand of loans. I paid back the minimum. I put all of my money to down payment on my first home. It's 3 years later, and my home has gone up 200 grand, and my loans went from 80, and now they're at about 60. Thank you for that great advice. Why? Because you no longer have to rent. Equity in your home goes up. And here's the other thing I love. Equity in your home is capital gains tax free. You're not taxed on the gain of your own personal home. So you invest with me, eventually when the money comes out, it's taxed. On RSPs, it's taxed, right? On your own personal home, I make no money if you invest in your own personal home, but that's capital gains tax free, and you no longer have to rent. So starter home, I'm going to call it 300 grand. The slide is slightly outdated, as you could tell. This is probably 2 years ago's pricing. I don't know. If you're in the valley, 300 grand still get you a townhouse, right? What is the minimum percentage needed for a down payment on a home? Does anybody know that? What is the minimum percentage needed on a down payment on a home? What percent? It's not 20, which a lot of people think. It's only 5. 5%. 5% off of 300 grand is 15,000. Okay? So off of a $300,000 home, personal property, what do you need in order to buy this home? You need 15 grand. If you have 15 grand and you've got a stable job, you'll qualify to buy a home. Okay? If you guys are renting at $1,200 a month, $1,500 a month, $1,800 a month, shift that money towards your own personal home. Remember, there are guys who will argue me on this. I'm a real estate guy. I believe everyone should buy their own home as fast as possible. And then I think they should buy multiple properties. Okay? How much money do you got to save up for 15 grand down payment if you want this thing in 3 years? Okay? If you want it in 3 years. Now we're going to do the math. Okay? Let's pretend you have a little bit of money now. Let's say you got 2 grand. Okay? Let's say you go to a guy like me. Says, Christian, I want to save up my money with you. What should we do? I'll say, we'll use a TFSA, and I'm going to get you 3%. I got to keep it conservative. I got to keep the numbers low because we need that money really quickly. Okay, so it's better than a checking account with about 3%. Okay, so let's do the math. Okay, take out your calculator. Take out your calculator. This is what it's going to look like. Negative 2,000. That's how much money you have. You've got that money in the bank right now. You got 2 grand. You're going to contribute, I don't know. That's what we're solving for, the PMT. But I'm trying to get 15 grand. How fast can I get 15 grand? Okay, $15,000. Christian's getting me 3% annual rate. And I got 3 years to do it. That's 36 months. Is that okay? This guy's going to be compounded annually. Hit the PMT, that's how much you need to save per month in your TFSAs. If you save that amount of money in your TFSAs, you'll have the down payment on your first home in 3 years. $340. $340, you've got a down payment in 3 years. What we're doing right now is financial planning. We're setting a plan. We did the loans because we know how long we want to pay them off. We're now doing the investing. Christian said to invest in my own personal property. If you want to do RSPs, we could shave off a little for RSPs as well. Does everyone understand the math? Okay. Your turn. Take out the sheet. Take out the sheet, the bottom of the sheet. It's your turn now, okay? How much home do you want to buy? Let's keep the numbers low. Don't go crazy. Think of a 2-bed. This is the perfect formula. I want you guys to try to buy a 2-bed in the next 3 years. And then I want you to rent one of the bedrooms out to one of your friends. Okay? You own the asset, capital gains tax free, you got a buddy paying off half the mortgage. That's what if I was sitting where you guys are sitting right now, that's what I would do. If you took away all my money, put me where you're sitting, I'd put the majority of my money towards a 2-bedroom condo where I can get a buddy to rent out the other bedroom, and we're going to have fun because we're young and fancy free, but I'm building up my assets, I'm building up my equity. So I don't know what that number is, but you're using your own number. Okay? Use your own number. 700 is probably a little bit high, unless you've got a lot of money. If you've got some down payment, you've already got some money somewhere, that's great. How long do you want to wait? I think you guys should wait 3 years. I think 3 years, some of you guys might be able to do it in 2. Yep.
What's a good down payment percent?
5.
That's a good.
That's the minimum. I'm seeing how fast can you get in. As soon as you got 5, you could buy.
If you have more, would you put more?
Depends. We have to do some financial planning. Should it go towards a loan? Sure. Because the thing is, you're just saving on an insurance called a CMHC fee. It depends. Everyone's going to be different. Everyone's going to be different. Yep.
5%, then does that mean that you'll have increased interest rates and increase like higher monthly payments and everything as well?
Yep. And I'd still do the 5. Because by the time, let's say it takes you 8 years to get 20%, right? 8 years to get 20%. And let's say what you were going to buy was a 300,000. Where is it in 8 years from now? Maybe it's at 600,000. Maybe it's at 550. So I saved up extra time. So instead of 15 grand, I could put down 40 grand. But the place I want to buy is now $300,000 more expensive because I kept waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. Okay. If you got more money, great. But personally, what I would do, I'd get into my place as fast as I can. Yeah, Christian, but I got this extra money. Good. Go buy a second one. Buy another one. Then go buy another one. Go buy another one. That's me. That's what I would do. Okay. All right. So this is what you guys are doing. You guys are figuring out how much money you have right now, and you're all using your own personal numbers. Everyone knows what's in your bank account. If you got some money, if your parents got some money, that's what you're starting with, and goes in as negative. You know what your target is. Whatever the 5% of whatever it is you tried to buy, that's your target. A future value is a positive. 3%, use 3%. Because I want to keep you guys safe. 3 years is 36 months. If you want to do it in 2 years, do 24. Compound it at, you could put annual or monthly. This one happens to be monthly. It actually should be annual. Then hit payment. That's how much you need to save up. Yep.
How do you get the 3 or 5%?
Okay.
Like the down payment?
You go to the bank, or you go to a guy like me and say, I want to open up an investment account, and I want a pre-authorized deduction to come out of my checking account, and I want you to put it into this account every month, and I want you to invest it. And then they'll say, this is the investment I recommend. And you said, well, what's this money for? It's a down payment I need in 3 years. So they say, we need a conservative investment. Our RBC, monthly high income fund, has averaged 3% over the last few years. This is my recommendation. You might get 3, you might get 4, you might get -2. They don't know what they're going to get, but they're going to try to keep you safe. Is that okay? But make it come out automatic monthly. It just comes out. Talk to your banker, talk to them, and get them going on this.
So does that count for the return that you get? Like, is that the investment that you can get money back on?
Okay, so if it's a TFSA, then the money will go in tax-free, come out tax-free. So there's no tax on it. So TFSA is probably where I'd put it. Is that okay? TFSA. Talk to a banker. Talk to your bank, your financial planner at the bank. Okay, that's the guy you want to talk with. Okay, so everyone's got their number now. This was my number, $800. I want a $700,000 house. I got $5,000 now. I got 3,500. I've got 35,000 is how much I need to save up. My household needs to save up $800 a month. In 3 years, I'll have my down payment to buy my $700,000 townhouse between me and my spouse. Now we've got a target, and you guys have got your own numbers, and you've got a worksheet, and I've taught you how to do the math. Has everybody got it? Okay. I think I'm gonna. I better zip through this last. Okay. Okay. This one over here is. I want to leave a little bit of time for questions. So, this one over here is. I call it the 3 rings of marriage over here. Okay, the 3 rings of marriage. Is anybody here married, by the way? No one's just married. Okay, you guys are young. Okay, in every marriage there are 3. So I'm going to teach you guys about marriage right now. You ready? Here we go. There's 3 rings in all marriages. There's the engagement ring, there's the wedding ring, and there's the suffer ring. Okay, there's the suffer ring. I'm married, so I'm able to say this, but here's the good part. Everyone will suffer in life. Not just in marriage, but in life, everyone will suffer. But here's the thing. You have two options to suffer. You could suffer in discipline or you could suffer in regret. Okay? So suffering in discipline is this. I think Christian just told me not to buy a fancy new car. I think Christian said not to go on a fancy vacation. I think Christian said not to go spend all my free time in Yaletown. That's suffering. That sucks. He told me not to do a bunch of stuff. I think he told me to just live at my house for the next 3 years. That's real suffering, depending on your parents, right? But that suffering is suffering of discipline. It's just like telling someone to go to the gym. That's suffering, but they're disciplined. Suffering is me saving my money and investing it. That's suffering. But you have a choice. The other one is suffering and regret. Suffering and regret is, not having enough money at retirement, never owning a home, renting for the rest of your life, getting disabled and not having disability insurance. Trust me, that's different suffering. That's suffering with regret. I should have did this differently. I should have did this. So everyone suffers. Everyone suffers. But I'm saying the most successful people in the world always will pick suffering of discipline. Suffering of discipline is still a form of suffering. Okay, so here, discipline weighs ounces, regret weighs tons. Okay, so I want you to consider this. If you go into a new city, like New York City, I don't know if anyone's ever been to New York. If you go to New York and you're only there for 2 or 3 days and there's a ton of things you want to do, as soon as you get to New York, what is the first thing that everyone should always do? Get a map. Get a map. Because if you don't get a map, you're not going to know where you're going. You're going to wander. Let me just wander. I think I should go in this direction. I think Broadway is this way. 3-4 hours later, no, it wasn't that way. I think it's this way. Let's just keep wandering. At the end of 3 days, you're like, we saw about a third of what we wanted to see. The experience was, a lot of it was a big waste of time. That's financial planning. I'm not going to get any financial planning. I'm just going to start life and I'm going to start spending. I hope I could buy a house in a couple years. Are you on track? I have no clue. I hope my loans get finished pretty quickly. I owe 60 grand 6 years later. How much do I owe now? 55. Okay, hope I make a bit more headway. I have no clue what I'm doing, just wandering around in life. No map. No one ever woke up to said, today I'm going to ruin my life. No one ever woke up and said, today is the day that my life is ruined. But some people wake up and their life is ruined. Why? No plan. No plan. It didn't happen overnight that their life got ruined. It happened slowly over time, incrementally. Why do you guys need to start doing some planning now? Because whatever problem you have, Visa card, spending too much, whatever problem you have right now is just going to get worse. You're only seeing a bit of the problem right now. Okay. Disorganization. Here's another problem. I hate thinking about money. I hate dealing with finances, right? I'm not a person who likes to deal with money. I like to spend it. I don't like to deal with it, right? It's going to get worse. It's going to get much worse. Okay. Quote, all the problems of this world could have been solved when they were small. Based off of your age, all your problems are still small. Even if you have Visa card debt, they're still small. As you get older, they'll get worse though. So here, getting organized over here, Warren Buffett says the best way to reduce risk is to increase knowledge. You got to get more financially educated. You got to increase your financial education. Okay? I always recommend to get a financial planning kit, where you are, where you want to go, and an action plan how to get there. That budget sheet that I showed you, that's a starting point, right? If you need help, you should get some professional help over here. Okay? I know with my company at Latitude West, we do financial plans where we generate a report to say, here's your cash flow, here's what next year will look like. If you want to hit your goal by this, you got to do this. So we make recommendations all the time. Okay? And so a financial plan says, are you on track for retirement? Yes. And we show them graphically, we show the numbers behind it. We're all math geeks, right? And all we're doing is we're running numbers to say you are on track, you don't have to worry. If you put this amount away and you put this amount away and you set this and you buy this, you're going to be fine. Okay? And then you're like, okay, great. I got a professional working with me. So what I do, is I do financial planning. I help people with their insurance. I help people with their investments. I give a lot of workshops. I've got a ton of clients. Okay, a lot of them come from this institution over here. If you guys are working with someone, great, keep working with them. Good people are hard to find. If you're not working with someone and you want to just talk, I won't charge you anything. It's just a conversation. I just want to push you guys in the right direction over here. And the whole idea behind this is that you guys got to start getting some professional help. The most dangerous advice you're going to get is from family and friends. That's the most dangerous, most expensive advice. Okay? So usually what I recommend is to try to come up with some sort of an action plan. I've given you guys a bunch of tools today, a bunch of things to think about. An action plan usually says, what do I need to start working on? What are the obstacles to prevent me? What's the strategy to get it? You know, you might want to review all your debts. Okay? You might want to painful issue. You might want to do a quick little insurance review. You might want to figure out how you're going to get a down payment. So this is just an idea of some financial planning, some action plan steps. Okay? And usually what I say is set a deadline for yourself to say, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do it by this date over here. Otherwise, by the time this workshop finishes, you guys are going to go and it's just like, okay, that was a nice workshop. I give a ton of webinars and workshops for my clients. If you want to come as a guest, there's a spot over there. You can say, yes, I'd love to come as a guest. And if I do a webinar, I'm just trying to teach as many people as much as I can. A lot of times I just do this by webinar or I do this by workshop. If you want an invite, and then you'll get an invite. Here's a total side note over here. I actually lead teams into Central America. I lead dental teams as well as medical teams. So I'll be going on my 6th trip over here because I have a lot of medical clients. So I've been going to Central America for about 15 years now, and I'll be going in July of 2019. I might have a mobile dental clinic going if anyone is sort of interested. I got 2 dentists. I need a 3rd. So if we have 3 dentists, we always need some hygienists, right? If you're interested, let me know. I'll give you more details. Write it on the paper, and I'll connect with you. So that's a total sidebar. Okay, so I got to wrap up over here. So I just gave you guys a ton of information, tons of financial information over here, okay? But at the beginning I said, who would you bet on? Who would you bet on? Okay, and everybody thought of someone they would bet on. Who's going to be the most successful? What would happen if you took all of my advice, every single thing Christian told me to do, if I took all of it? You should have greater income, better career, more balance in your life. So the person you should bet on should be yourself. And the person you admire the most should be you. See how I did that? Thank you guys for listening to what I had to say. So, in conclusion over here, I know you guys might have another class or something like that. Student loan debt, tackled it. How to save up if I'm young, some strategies. Do what I did on the paper, figure out the monthly amount you want to pay back for your loans, figure out the monthly amount that you want to put as a down payment on your house. If you do a TFSA on the down payment and you decide not to buy the house, at least you'll have the cash to put somewhere else like an RRSP. Use the TFSA as the first starting point. Figure out how much you want to save, then live off of the leftover. If you could avoid the car, if you could avoid the rent, or reduce the car or reduce the rent, you'll be saving hundreds until you're ready to do it all on your own. What accounts should I set up after graduation? Set up a TFSA, set up an RRSP. I would also look into your insurance if you're about to work and work doesn't cover you for it, okay? I invite you to connect with me. I do not charge anyone graduating for advice. I just will talk to you and tell you which direction to go. If you want me to do a plan for you, I will charge you, but we have a grad plan that's super cheap anyway. I think everyone needs something. You could get a financial plan from the bank. The only thing is all they want is all of your money, and they want to stick it in RSPs and TFSA. So I'm a little bit wary about the bank. I kind of like it when it's a non-biased opinion over there. Is that okay? But aside from that, I'll also put this out. If you could fill out that last page over there, fill out the last page. Give me some feedback over here. You never know. I always like to keep improving these sessions over here. If there are other topics that you sort of felt I missed that you feel that the next class can use, or other topics that you yourself want to hear about, If I'm doing a workshop or a webinar, I'll at least know to give it to you. If you want to follow me on my Facebook, I post financial articles every single week. Just smart financial thing. I think Facebook should be used as a good learning tool as opposed to just a big waste of time. So follow somebody who's sort of giving you some valuable information over here. I'll just post my email and my cell number up there, but if somebody wanted a card, I think I've got a card somewhere over here. But essentially, I think you guys are off to a really good start if I've jarred you enough to get you thinking about finances. It's not talked about enough in the schools. I think this little workshop has been fantastic because you guys are walking away with a piece of paper and a new skill set. You've now got a financial calculator on your phone, and you all know how to use it. At the very least, you know what you're doing with your loans, and you know what you're doing with your investments as to how to start saving up, either for a down payment or something of that sort. Okay. So, is there another class coming in
We
here?
have a 2 o'clock class.
Coming in? Okay, so
This is important. And
sure.
We'll go soon. Is there any kind of burning last minute question for Christian?
Question about
Yeah.
student loan.
Yes.
I feel like we're not so our rate is gonna be for what was it, for the fixed one is prime plus 5% and then floating is prime plus 2.5.
Yep.
Which one would you recommend to go with?
Prime plus 5 or
Plus 2.5, but it's a fixed versus floating.
for a mortgage or a student loan?
Student loan, government loan. You get to choose which way you go.
Okay. Really, really quick answer over here. This is what I would do. I'm not saying you should do it, but this is what I would do. I don't have a felt. There's no felt here. If it were me, I would do this. Okay, try to follow along. I don't have anything to write on. If it were me, I would do this. Let's say that the floating one is the cheaper one, right? Okay. To keep the math simple, let's say you had to pay $2,000 on the floating one. Okay. And let's say you had to pay $2,300 on the fixed one. Is that okay? Because the fixed one's higher. Personally, this is how I structure my mortgages. I'll take the floating one. In the floating one, I'll say, give me the floating. Then they'll say, Christian, you owe me $2,000. You got it? But I'll pay $2,300. Did everybody catch that? $2,300 for fixed, $2,000 for floating. I'll say I'll take the floating, but I'll pay $2,300 because that's what I was about to pay. That's what I was about to pay if I took the fixed, correct? Why would you pay extra and take the floating? The $300 goes directly to principal. The $300 extra dollars goes directly to principal because you're overpaying it. And if the rate starts to move at you, it has to breach $2,300 before you basically said, I should have went with the other one. And I do my mortgages the same way. I usually take the variable rate, but I'll pay the fixed rate prices. So all of that extra money that I'm paying extra goes directly to principal. Yep.
I'm not understanding why
There's two different rates?
Yeah.
The bank is taking a risk. They don't know which way the rates are going to go in the next little while. They don't know if they're going to go up or down.
Isn't the fixed rate always going to be higher?
That's right. It's because it's guaranteed. It's guaranteed fixed rate. So that means so the bank is taking on less risk by you doing that. But if you're sharing in the risk of the rate, they'll give you the cheaper rate, but you're sharing in the risk because if it goes up, well, you got to pay it. If the bank has got a fixed rate and if it goes up over there, they got to pay it. So if they're taking on more of the risk, they're going to charge you a higher premium at the beginning. Is that okay? I'm not saying to do that. I'm saying to actually suss it out. Maybe the extra $200-300 can go, maybe it's better used elsewhere. That's why I actually think everybody should take a look at some planning. It doesn't have to be with me, it can be with someone else. But take a look at some planning. Planning is always the best answer to where to put your extra cash. Because the one thing is you guys are about to start making money, and for some of you, you've never made money before. If you've never made money before and all of a sudden you're making, I don't know, what do hygienists make, $40 an hour?
Well, the answer to everything is it depends.
It depends, yeah.
You're working full-time, part-time, practice setting, but 75 is the
$75,000.
If you're full-time.
$75,000, and some of you have never made anything in your entire life, right? What do you do with that extra form of responsibility? Get educated as to what your options are. Otherwise, it's going to be like Christmas time for the first 6 months. I'm buying this, I'm buying that, I got all this money, and I deserve it because I've been sacrificing, I deserve it. Guess what? You're going to have a big freaking visa bill in 5 years. And then you're going to say, holy cow, how did that happen? I'll go back to that slide of that old couple. At what point did my life get ruined? Right? Not to scare the hell out of you, but remember, if for nothing else, pay your visa bills all off on time, okay? And invest first before you start spending that money. I'm going to hang around for a bit. I'm going to be in the hallway, but I'm going to get, all right, thank you so much. Great session. Oh, the papers, if you could just put them back up here, I will collect them. I will only invite people to my workshops who wanted to be invited. I will not solicit anyone who does not want me to contact them.
I will see you guys in JVM 132 in a few moments.
Notes on the back.
Ah, oops.
Photo notes.
I do not. I've run out of paper completely, but this is what you can do. You could take that, write down all the information you want to give to me, and then give me the other thing. Hey, sorry, I've taken up your time there.
That was very good. That was very good. I have to be rude and leave to my next
Yeah,
speaker.
no problem.
But you know how to
Yeah.
get in and get out, and you know where you're going, right?
I know where I'm
This
going.
is huge, but you've been here
Yeah,
for 4
no
degrees
problem.
worth. Brilliant.
I think a lot of these topics really hit home.
And I don't mind either putting out a message through meetings about your contact.
Mm-hmm.
We want to reemphasize that.
Yeah. I think this was great, but you know what? I think we should do this again. I think the next time you have this opportunity with a graduating class or something, be happy to come back. I think these guys got a lot out of it. I've perfected I think that the worksheet and the paper and them working their own numbers, and I get to leave with it, and he taught me something.
You covered a lot of important stuff, and it's just the beginning, as you know.
Yeah.
You heard a lot of the shock and awe.
I know. No, I like. Okay, no problem. Yeah. Okay, I'm getting out of here. I'm so sorry. All right.